how old were you when you decided to leave Christianity, and what was that experience like?
Oh, 15.
Yeah.
And my life became bifurcated and fragmented in a way that I came to deeply find distasteful. And so trying to deal with fragmentation has also become a pervasive theme, not whether it's fragmentation within a person or fragmentation between the different disciplines that study the mind. That's why I'm in cognitive scientists, trying to integrate and solve the fragmentation problem, right? Yeah, it was very challenging for me because I couldn't move out on my own or anything. I'm 15.
Yeah, right.
Right. I'm still in my family, and they knew that something was going on, and there was kind of this weird don't ask, don't tell thing. It was very challenging me. There were times when I went to church and, the minister would be getting everybody to bow their head and raise their hand as if they agreed with this. And of course, everybody's looking around surreptitiously and everybody's raising their hand, and I'm the one person not raising my hand. Ugh. Just very, very difficult. And then, of course, I had a group of friends, close friends at high school. They became very much invested in this project that I was engaged in of wrestling with meaning. And so they became very supportive, and that was very happy for me. But that was, and it caused things. And it caused me to get married too young, right? Because marrying was a way of escaping that fundamentalist family and setting up a new one, and I'm on good terms with my ex. I'm not making any criticisms of her. I'm just saying we got married, I think, too young because we were both escaping that. That's a good reason for forming a company together for a while, like the Fellowship of the Ring or something. We're both going to leave fundamentalism together. We're going to help, but it's not the basis for a long-term marriage, right? It's not. Of course, you don't know this at the time, right? The ways in which I was foolish around this are significant. I was wrestling with a lot of stuff. I was wrestling with a profound kind of depression. I used to call it the black burning in my chest because of that hole. Like I said,
I can imagine.
But also, like I said, there was trauma. Like there's instances like from when I was still in it as a kid that were absolutely traumatic to me. I came home one day. I lived within walking distance of the school, and there was always somebody in the home, just because of the way it was a small home. We were a poor family. There was kids, and my mom was mostly a housewife. And I came home once, and there was nobody there. And I was absolutely convinced to my bones that the rapture had occurred. All my family had been taken away. I was too sinful. I was left behind, and the Antichrist and his minions were coming for me. This is like I'm 10. And then another one. I used to read the Bible every day, and I'm glad I have, by the way. Biblical literacy is a really important part of cultural literacy. I don't begrudge that, and the Bible still is deeply meaningful to me. But I read this passage in the New Testament where, and in multiple places, they talk about the unforgivable sin, the sin that can never be forgiven, no matter how much you pray about it. And I was terrified, and I thought, have I committed, again, I think I was like 12. Have I committed the unforgivable sin? And I got and is thinking that the unforgivable sin, and all, and and my mother could tell I was getting I was getting deeply distressed. And she took me to the minister who was supposed to help me, and he just gave me empty platitudes that even as a 12-year-old, I recognized were completely useless. And I realized, he doesn't have an answer to this. He doesn't, he pretended he spoke with the confidence of but there was no answer forthcoming. And it was just like that kind of trauma. And these are just a couple instances of many. And again, I'm not villainizing my mom or my dad or my family. I love them. My mom and my dad are both dead. I love my extended family, but this is when I stepped out of that now came to the fore. Like, well, you've got to address this. What is the world such that, right? You shouldn't have these fears. You shouldn't have these terrors. What do you do with the way that has sort of made you afraid of things? And so, it took work, it took therapy, it took meditation, contemplation, Tai Chi Chuan, a lot of good education, especially in the Socratic Platonic tradition. So that's what it was like. Yeah. I wouldn't recommend it for anybody. But the thing I have to tell you, Tim, is I meet a lot of people who are attracted to my work because of something similar like this happening to them. They have left a religious home and they do not find any religious homes viable, yet they still hunger for that deep connectedness, that meaning, that space in which one can cultivate wisdom.